Okay, this is Vista. As you can see, Vista is still Windows. It looks pretty much the same. There are some minor differences. We see things like the My Documents has changed to be represented by the username. And when you open the user's Documents folder, things are a little flashier. And so we have Documents. We have special folders for music and videos and pictures and things like that that look a lot more like the folders for those items. And there's also a downloads folder that's already set up for you. This location for this folder has changed as well. You might remember that Documents and Settings used to be the old spot for finding this information. Well, if you open up My Computer and search your way down on the hard drive in an effort to find Documents and Settings right under the root of drive C like it used to be found, it's not there anymore. But what you do see is a folder called Users. Under Users, you have each of the users that have logged on to the system, and what you have beneath there is pretty much exactly the same thing. So this is the location where the desktop icon takes you, but you notice there's a lot more detail when you find it yourself. It's the same place, but you see the complete path, and this is in kind of a step-through path orientation. But if you click anywhere in the path bar here, you'll see the classic path that you're used to looking at in such areas in Windows. Click anywhere away from that bar and it turns back into the newer style. Something else that you might find looks a little bit different. Right-clicking on Network, notice it's just Network now, doesn't bring up network connections directly anymore. It brings up something called the Network and Sharing Center. Within the Network and Sharing Center, you see a number of hints about how your network connectivity is doing, and you can also view the status on any of your current connections. Pretty much the same type of interface as you're used to will come up, where you can diagnose, disconnect, etc. Over here in the tasks list on the left side, you can manage your network connections, bringing up a new window so that you can actually get to things within your network connections that you're used to. This is where you're able to right-click on one of your connections and go into its properties to change things such as your IP address. You might find you have to look a little farther down the list now for your information. There's also the Sharing tab for internet connection sharing, which you can turn on if you'd like. Something else you'll probably notice is the new Start menu. Looks a little bit different. For instance, All Programs brings up a list of your individual programs, which used to come up last, and then it goes to the folders. Each of the folders expands with any subfolders that it might have, and as you work your way down into those, its subfolders open up as well. Slightly different. If you feel that you want to go back to the old style, you can simply right-click your Start button, choose Properties, and go to the classic Start menu. Your desktop icons change a little bit as well to welcome you back to some of the things you're familiar with in the old days. Of course, customizing can change that. But now your Start menu looks like the old-fashioned style, where the menus actually open up to the side and your folders are shown before your actual files. Some of our old favorites still exist. If we right-click Computer, we have Manage and we have Properties. Properties looks a little bit different. This is System Properties, and what we're used to here is a series of tabs. Well, what you start with is somewhat equivalent to the General tab. If you would like to see some of the other tabs, you can click pretty much any of the tasks other than Device Manager, and you'll come up with the series of tabs very similar to what you're used to in System Properties. And you'll start with the one that you clicked. Had we clicked Advanced System Settings, we'd start with Advanced. Had we clicked System Protection, we'd start with System Protection. System Protection is slightly different. You used to be able to select the drive capacity that would be taken by your system restore points. Here you're able to turn system restore on and off once the searching takes place and it finds exactly which drives are being protected by your system protection. And note, you can also create a system restore point here on this tab. Advanced has its performance, user profiles, and startup and recovery settings. Slight differences in each one. Environment variables has a button here as well. Computer name looks very similar to what you're used to. Hardware has Device Manager, driver settings. This is to decide how often you would like to check for drivers and their updates. You'll find under remote assistance, and remote desktop, just like you're used to, they still exist. Going into Control Panel, which is the parent of where we just were, we could have easily, through the path bar, gotten back to the Control Panel. When you first open Control Panel, you see the category view. It's just called Control Panel Home here. It's interesting to note that each of the categories has links beneath it. If you're still hooked on the old classic view, that's still available. We have most of our old favorites as well as some new tricks, but some of our old favorites have changed name. For example, System is still there. But if you're looking for Add Remove Programs, you're not going to find it up here. You're going to need to go to Programs and Features. Also, if you're looking for your display icon, the display applet has moved to something called Personalization. When you open Personalization, you actually see a series of things similar to the tabs that we're used to in the display properties. Display Settings, for example, brings up a similar view to the Settings tab in the old display properties, but it just brings that tab itself up and not a series of tabs on adjoining pages. So that's pretty much an overview of Vista. There are some differences, but you'll find a lot of old familiar items too.